back to News Geelong on this Wednesday evening. The hooded plover is an endangered species, as we have followed the story of dedicated environmentalists working down around the Point Road Night and Fairhaven areas over the past 18 months. Ian Nichols with this update.
Well, there's excitement down here on the Surf Coast again. Endangered babies have been hatched at Eastern View, which some people call the start of the Great Ocean Road. And these little babies need to be protected from predators. And that's why we're talking with Georgie Beale, who's the Conservation Officer with the Great Ocean Road Coast Committee. We love hooded plovers, and we've got some pretty exciting news. It's been a long time between drinks, but we've got some new chicks on the way, or have been born already.
Yes, there's 2 chicks that have hatched down at Eastern View. We did have 3 hatch, but 1 didn't survive. So there's 2 chicks there that are thriving now.
Well, it reminds us, of course, that they are an endangered species, so it's all important that they do survive once they arrive on this planet.
It very much is, and we do all we can to help them through this time until they fledge. Once they've fledged, which takes about 6 weeks, we're happy. We know that they've got a greater chance of survival, but we rely on all the volunteers and monitors and BirdLife Australia who help us out with training and signage and information to hand out to the public, and they provide us with a scope that we can take down onto the beach so that people can view the chicks and the adults from a distance. And we really encourage dog owners to keep their dogs on a lead when they're walking through a nesting area or a refuge area where the chicks are.
Well, they come up from various points along the beach, anywhere from here to Lorne, but it's Eastern View at the moment that we're focusing on. What's a typical sort of terrain where they love to nest? Is it just sandy, or do they try to find a little bushy spot?
No, they don't nest in bushy areas because that way they can't see if there's a predator coming up to the nest. They will nest between the high tide mark and into the dune. Sometimes they will nest in a bit of a rocky outcrop, but generally they'll just make a little scrape in the sand and they'll lay between 1 to 3 eggs. And usually if the eggs don't make it through, they will keep laying through the season, which is from about August through to March.
Well, it would seem that the plovers' breeding habits do make them very vulnerable, not only to humans, but to wildlife and animals.
Very much so, yes. They're very much prone to foxes and cats, dogs and people, because they camouflage so well. They're very good at camouflage, both the eggs and the chicks, so they can be stood on by people. Horses on the beach is another big issue down here. And then also there's ravens and kestrels that will take the eggs as well, and the chicks.
Well, it seems they do have a lot to contend with, and they're such beautiful little chicks, aren't they?
Oh, there's a bucket load of cuteness in each one. They are absolutely gorgeous, yes.
Well, we have some images which our viewers, I'm sure, will get a very close look at, and we have done stories in the past about the hooded plovers. They really need to be treated with kid gloves, so to speak.
They absolutely do, and we do all we can to help them through. We fence off nesting areas and we put up lots of signage, and the volunteers, if the chicks have hatched, they will monitor them over those days and speak to the public and ask the public to put dogs on a lead if they're nesting or if the chicks are on a dog beach. And generally the dog owners are quite compliant. They will, help us out there. And it's really great to get the public on side.
In search of hooded plover chicks, this is Ian Nichols for News Geelong.
Thank you, Ian Nichols. Princess Park on the Queenscliff beachfront was a showpiece last Sunday as the hot rods and classic cars arrived in town, showing off the chrome and the gleam of the beautifully cared for vehicles. Millions of dollars worth of vehicles, as Ian Nichols pored over them and filed this report.
The location is Princess Park in Queenscliff. There's an enormous crowd here for the Geelong Street Rodders Show and Shine, an organisation that's been going since 1973. And I've taken a liking to this little low to the ground number. It's actually identified as a 1984 Toyota Coupe. And we're going to speak with Dean McDonald, the president of the Rodders, about today's outstanding success.
Yes, we've done really well, thank you. It's a nice day. It was meant to be about 40 degrees today, actually, but it's ended up being 32 degrees and a bit of a southeasterly sea breeze, so that's helped us out.
Well, thanks for the weather forecast. I'm just thinking that some beautiful trees to shade yourself in the heat of the day as well.
Yeah, the trees help, although a lot of these rods have got lots of expensive paint jobs and they don't like the little bits and pieces falling out of the trees on them. So, but some of the old rat rods love the shade under the trees.
Well, since 1998, you tell me, you've been here at Queenscliff 16 years and you've been here for most of those years.
Yeah, I've been involved, this is my 9th year with the Queenscliff Rod Run. It had been in the fort in previous years and we outgrew that, so now we're down in the Princess Park.
Well, you've attracted an enormous crowd. Is this as big as you've seen in your history here?
Yeah, this is up there with it. I wouldn't say it's the biggest yet, but I'll still say there's a few more to come. It's definitely got the biggest amount of entrants. We have entrants that come down for the whole weekend. So this year was 451 entrants, and so they come down Friday night and stay for the duration of the weekend.
Well, as you've suggested, your sponsors make it possible for these guys to come to Queenscliff, and it's also possible for the public to come in for just $5.
Yeah, well that's right. Like, without the sponsors of the Geelong Street Rodders, we couldn't put on a whole weekend event like this for a family. It's $120 to bring a whole family down for the whole weekend. So they get a Friday night food and drinks, breakfast on Saturday morning, full family entry into the adventure park and lunch in the adventure park, or they have an alternative day cruise around with a lunch and go to some wineries. And then we have our famous street cruise here now up and down Hess Street, which is a fantastic thing. And then you get breakfast Sunday morning as well in the show and shine.
Well, it's a full-on tourist event, isn't it?
It is a tourist event, and like just to come to the lovely town of Queenscliff, what a better place to come and drive your cars around and have a look. And people just see the cars from Thursday, Friday driving into town and they go, what's going on? So they look up what's happening on the internet, and that brings all the families down here for $5. They get in, kids are free. And then all the money raised today from the show and shine goes to the Lions Club. They take the gate takings and they distribute that to local charities and organisations.
Well, I've got to say, as we drove into Queenscliff today, there's probably just as many classic cars and cars of interest, if you like, in the streets and surrounding area, including the parking bays here. So by the time you put the two totals together, we've got a massive, probably 12 or 1,500 cars.
Well, that's right. It's we got the 450 entrants, and then we have what we call them day trippers, and they come down from all around with their either hot rod, custom classic, or a special interest vehicle, and it's usually up around the 800. I'd say be around about that today. Yeah.
Well, the streets are running amok with.
There could be a lot more up the street, but I haven't had a chance to get up there yet.
Well, now it is really a sensational event, and one that really car fanatics should not miss.
Yeah, that's right. It's if we get weather like this, the sun's shining and it's not raining, it's definitely it's going to be a good weekend, isn't it?
Well, congratulations to the riders. You've put on, you've done us a treat, as they say in the classics, and we're going to take a little wander around, Dean, and just find a few of our own personal favourites today.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you might be able to see some old families. Your dad had one or your uncle had one of these cars, and they might have different wheels on it now or a different motor. It'll bring back memories.
Well, Fano's after a 1937 Chev, because that's the first car he can remember his dad driving, so we'll take a wander.
I can guarantee you'll find a 1937 Chev.
We encourage people to own and drive beautiful vehicles, but this is what happens when speed takes over. Well, we've had a little stop down. Sort of sobering, isn't it? Now let's look at more beautiful rods here at the Geelong Street Rodders Show. We're happy to say that Keith from Hallam, over there on the other side of the city, has got to Queenscliff with this magnificent rod. You say you bought it from a fella called Dave Parr.
Dave Hart in YE New South Wales,
right,
who's been a custom builder since he was 15 years old. And this was his own personal car, and it used to have a three-window body coupe on there.
Right.
And then this body come from Pete Osborne in New Zealand. And they did a swap back in 2002, and then he finished redoing the car in 2005. And then I got to buy it in March last year.
Well, we're not trying to steal Fletcher's thunder here and get into sort of classic resto stuff, but this is a magnificent... How would you describe the vehicle?
It's it attracts a lot of attention, and it drives beautifully for what it is, and especially when we take the roof off you know, when it's not too hot, it's really nice to drive and just really enjoy it.
Well, there's not only great vehicles to see, there's great music to listen to, and we've had a ball here at Queenscliff today for the Geelong Street Rodders Queenscliff Rod Run. For News Geelong, I'm Ian Nichols.
Thank you, Nico. Brings back great memories of the old days parking in Taillight Alley down at Eastern Beach. As we head to a break, we'll return with sport and weather after this.